members was done here in the theater of Teresa Carreño, because there were thousands of people listening to this speech outside of the theater as well. A resemblance of the taking the oath ceremony that the president made, also both in front of the National Assembly and later on in front of the presidential palace, Miraflores. So that was a speech that was partly looking back to 2024, giving a balance of what happened in that year, the achievements of the government and the challenges it faced, and it was a look forward to what's to come in 2025 and later on. But I have a guest, Mayerlin Arias. Thank you for taking the time, Mayerlin. You have been inside and listening to the president, aren't you?
Yes, I was in the Teresa Carreño Theater, listening and watching our president, our National Assembly, our deputies that are listening this annual message.
And how did you perceive the speech? What's your major take from that speech? What is the message that you got from the president's speech?
We are very happy to listen and watch our president because it was illustrative this speech talking about all the things that we are being through in 6 years, all the growing in economics matters, but also in social politics, public politics in our country. So we are very happy to see that in this 6 years, we are defeating hyperinflation and also fascism, you know, because we have a strong democracy. He was announcing that we in this year 2025 we are going to have 10 elections, popular elections about community projects that we always we start in 2024. So now we are going to ask people in the community what project wants to build or to grow in culture, in youth, but also in economic and service. You know, so we are very happy to the achievements of our country in these 6 years, but we think that the major victory of these 6 years is the peace. We are in peace. He is building bridges to the other people that think different from us. He's speaking to all the Venezuelan people. He's saying, come to us. We want the happiness of all the people, of the Venezuelan people, no matter party, no matter ideology. The important thing is that you want peace and you want health care for free, education for free, houses for the people more with vulnerabilities. So it's justice, social justice. So he's saying to the Venezuelan people that is in other countries that they are welcome here, that we have security, we have major achievement in security. Is the Venezuela is the safest country of America in this moment.
Thank you very much. Indeed, the president's speech was dominated by achieving or maintaining that peace, and based on it, he announced a number of political measures, a number of reforms that include, for instance, the introduction of a new Ministry of Foreign Trade, that include the introduction of the digital bolivar, that include, as you mentioned in your introduction, the introduction of the Constitutional Reform Committee. So it was indeed a very forward-looking speech, and these measures and these new ideas will surely be discussed and started being applied in the next days, weeks and months. In summary, this was an important speech because it is one of the most important moments, prolonged moments of government communication with the Venezuelan people, established in the constitution. And here, President Nicolas Maduro displayed a lot of concrete steps, concrete ideas, and even signed some of them into decrees that will be started being applied from tomorrow on. Very concrete speech. That's for the time being what we can report here from here downtown Caracas in the front of the cultural center Teresa Carreño.
Venezuela President Nicolás Maduro signed the decree to carry out a constitutional reform in a democratic and participatory manner. During his nation's annual message, the Venezuelan head of state announced the creation of a commission in charge of carrying out the constitutional reform and proposed prosecutor Tarek William Saab as its president. Maduro detailed that the constitutional reform will have three general objectives, which are the expansion of democracy, the construction of the new state to define the kind of society demanded by the people, and to lay the foundations of the new self-sustainable economy. Cuba's Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez said Wednesday that the decision of the United States government to remove Cuba from the list of countries that allegedly sponsor terrorism is a sign that its destabilization plans against the Caribbean island have failed. During a press conference in Havana, Rodriguez denounced that the list is unilateral and arbitrary and lack credibility and prestige on an international level. He also reiterated that the Cuban government has maintained and continues to maintain the firm and historic resolve to hold a respectful and responsible dialogue with Washington on the basis of equality, sovereignty, and without interference in his country's internal affairs. The foreign minister highlighted the considerable humanitarian damage that the U.S. sanctions and blockade have had on Cuban families and praised the resilience of the Cuban people and government in the face of the U.S. hostile policies against the island. The world celebrates the Cuban victory after the island nation was removed from the U.S. list of state sponsors of terrorism, while they kept on calling for an end to the coercive measures against the Caribbean country. The measure announced by the U.S. government was welcomed by nations such as Venezuela, Colombia, and Bolivia, as well as by representatives of the Cuban solidarity movements. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro stressed the need to lift the economic, financial, and commercial blockade that has affected Cuban society for more than 60 years. For his part, Bolivian President Luis Arce praised the decision and reaffirmed that justice had been done after the unilateral and notorious listing in 2021. Organizations such as the National Network in Cuba and the ALBA TCP welcomed the news and highlighted the global solidarity that led to this result. Cuba's Ministry of the Revolutionary Armed Forces reported Wednesday that search and rescue teams have not been able to locate the 13 comrades missing in the Army Depot accident, which occurred in the eastern province of Holguín last week. 1 week after the event, specialists have concluded that the possibility of survival is now null. In the text, the government body said, due to the extreme complexity of the area resulting from the explosions, the effects of the accumulated gases and the severe damage caused, as well as the real danger of landslides due to the structural damage to the site, it has not been possible to reach the location of the 13 comrades who heroically faced the incident in order to prevent it from spreading. The communique also states that, based on the work carried out and the analysis of the specialist, the ministerial commission created by order of the Minister of the Armed Forces to conduct the corresponding investigation, together with the competent investigative bodies, came to the conclusion that the accident site is inaccessible and therefore there is no possibility of life at the site. Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel offered his condolences to the families of those who died in the accident that occurred in a construction site that stored war material in the province of Holguín. The Cuban president detailed that it deeply hurts to confirm the death of officers, non-commissioned officers and soldiers who heroically faced the accident in a construction site that stored war material in the military region of Holguín. I send my heartfelt condolences to their families and friends. They died heroically, and as heroes, they deserve our most heartfelt homage and the accompaniment of their loved one in the pain of their loss. In the United States, activists from the Code Pink organization interrupted the confirmation hearing for Florida Senator Marco Rubio, who was nominated by President-elect Donald Trump to become Secretary of State. Demonstrators rejected Rubio's nomination and denounced his support to coercive sanctions against several Latin American countries.
We were in the Marco Rubio hearing, and three courageous activists with Code Pink got up to say that Marco Rubio is no diplomat. He's a war hawk. He's an interventionist. They talked about him supporting the interventions in Latin America, the brutal sanctions in Latin America that have led to people going hungry and being forced to migrate, his support for the war in Israel, and that what we need is a real diplomat who will stop using militarism and interventionism and instead really be a diplomat, and that is not Marco Rubio.
The President of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, assured that the war against drug trafficking declared by former President Felipe Calderón in 2006 was an irresponsible decision. According to Mexican President, Calderón's decision to declare war in the country was the most authoritarian decision in the country's history. In this context, Sheinbaum highlighted that the former president's strategy consisted of violating the rights of citizens by promoting extrajudicial executions, corruption, and drug trafficking. In addition, the head of government highlighted that with the arrival of the fourth transformation to power, there was a change in state policies to address the situation of organized crime and drug trafficking, providing opportunities for young Mexicans.
Es una de las decisiones más irresponsables.
It is one of the most irresponsible decisions ever made by a person who became president, as you rightly said, through electoral fraud. First of all, who has ever declared a war in his own country?
Primero, ¿quién declara una guerra en su propio país?
War means permission to kill. I have said it several times. To declare a war means that the laws take second place and that there is a regime of exception. It should be clear for all those who talk about the rule of law, those who fill their mouths talking about the rule of law, and that there is authoritarianism in Mexico. And actually, in the end, the most authoritarian and irresponsible decision that has ever been taken in the last presidential terms was Calderón's decision to declare war.
Bukele defended the reactivation of metallic mining on the grounds that if the river gets polluted due to his project, it is because they are clean. For its negative consequences, the Salvadoran legislation banned the practice that Bukele is now willing to reactivate. The president categorically assured that mining is not linked to the river's pollution, but showed no scientific evidence of this criteria. In contrast, studies endorsed by the United Nations unfolded that 90% of industrial extractive operations use cyanide. That is why experts have asked the executive and the legislature to disregard this initiative.
Front of the Cultural Center Teresa Carreño here in downtown Caracas, where the speech of the president has just finished, a fundamental speech required by the Constitution, Article 271 of the Bolivarian